that you think anyone, जिसको tour guide भी नहीं मिला, and you think that very simple small things that people can just take care of, and if anyone who's watching this unko, they can realize कि oh maybe I can take care of this वहाँ पे जाके. What are the small gestures that they can take care of? Do you think that could be good and not, अगर ना करे तो वो harmful हो सकते हैं?
There's a lot of misconception around free access to fruits and homes.
Yes.
Because we don't have char diwari system a lot. So people think it is okay to get into people's homes and do whatever.
हर दफ़ा कोई जब टूरिस्ट उधर जाता है, you leave a mark. Of course, it could be a good mark, it could be a bad mark. Of course, because it's inevitable. आप जब किसी के साथ टाइम गुजारते हैं, एक इन्फ्लुएंस रहता है. कोई बाहर से आएगा, कोई यहाँ पे होगा. It does not matter. However, not all the cultural practices of tourists are healthy. And a lot of them are harming the culture.
यहाँ पे जब ग्लोबल कोई टूरिस्ट आ रहा है तो उसके लिए कहीं पे कोई कंपाइल्ड सेंट्रलाइज्ड इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं है टू टेक केयर ऑफ कि यार दे कैन गो देयर एंड सी कि अच्छा वहाँ पे कल्चर क्या है, लैंग्वेज क्या है क्या नहीं है, व्हाट यू नीड टू टेक केयर ऑफ, ठीक है, बिफोर गोइंग देयर.
शादियाँ जो होती थी पहले, हम लोगों ने काफ़ी लोगों से बात की, एंड दे वर लाइक कि शादियाँ बहुत सिंपल होती थी गिलगित बल्तिस्तान में. एंड नाउ यू कैन नॉट टेल द डिफरेंस अपार्ट फ्रॉम इस्लामाबाद की शादी एंड गिलगित बल्तिस्तान की शादी, बिकॉज दे आर पुटिंग देयर कल्चर इन द बैक सीट and they are focusing on more what's popular,
Changing culture, it's not just the tourist but also the people of Gilgit Baltistan, because you cannot contain a change, right? Except for if you know your values, then you know what to pick and choose and what to let go.
But of course, whenever you're going there, आप सिर्फ पहाड़ देखने नहीं जा रहे हैं, आप वहाँ पे लोगों के दरमियान में जा रहे हैं, लोगों की चीज़ें देखने के लिए जा रहे हैं. And that is where our research comes in. We came across two terms. One was ethno-relativity and the other was ethnocentric होना. There are some tourists who are very ethnocentric. They believe whatever their culture is, it's superior. So, hypothetically, I'm an ethnocentric tourist. I'm going to go there and be like, well, I do this in my home. And even if people do not like this, I don't care because, well, it's approved by my culture.
It is a very different concept here. But in Gilgit Baltistan, they would like if you come to them and take permission. Yes. It's like all you have to do is just come to them and then ask. Right? They are not going to say no, but it will give them a sense of respect in that way that they have basically asked you for your consent and your permission.
I mean, even in Islamabad, if someone was taking a picture of me for any purpose, like street photography,
you won't be comfortable, yeah?
Exactly. That before going there, people really need to educate themselves of the culture, of the languages, of everything that they're going to be attending. For instance, अगर आप किसी भी एक इलाके में जा रहे हैं, कोई festival होने वाला है, just learn about it. You don't need to start speaking their language, but you should at least have some sense of the history that is there, because that then creates a connection that, of course, then breeds respect. Assalamu alaikum everyone, I'm Maria Tahir from another episode of Saqafati Safarnama, and today we have with us Maria Jabeen. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. क्या हाल है अरीज आपके? ठीक ठाक?
Alhamdulillah. Okay, Maria, thank you so much for joining us, first of all, and thank you for giving us your time. I want you to please introduce yourself and your ties to Gilgit Baltistan.
My name is Maria Jabeen, and I was born in Peshawar, but my parents are from Gilgit Baltistan, and I have spent a good chunk of my childhood in Gilgit Baltistan as well. Other than that, I work with IT company, and also I'm a social activist, and I do my own podcast with travelers as well. So this is my short brief introduction.
Okay, so since your parents, both of them, they're from Gilgit Baltistan, you lived your life. How do you remember Gilgit Baltistan? What was the culture like, and what did it feel like, and any highlights that you remember, festivals or anything?
Yeah, pretty much I would say the highlight would be the weather, the mountains, and of course the people. The major thing about people was how, because I was born in Peshawar and my early years were in Peshawar, so the community was totally different for me. I mean, I did not have an idea born in Peshawar that community is a thing until I went back to Gilgit Baltistan. And there I got to go to Jamaat Khana and interacted with most of the kids through girls guiding activities and a lot of other festivals as well. So it gave me this sense of community living there and how they value people and also exchange resources and the concept of togetherness to grow was the main highlight. It still is.
Do you have a favorite food from there?
Fruit, yes, grapes
Okay.
and pears. Yeah, these two are my favorite.
Okay, so there's like, music wise and बहुत diversity है गिलगित बल्तिस्तान में from region to region. We were talking to this one guy one day and he said कि उसके area में people spoke 5 languages. And that was
Yes.
mind blowing, of course.
Yeah, that is a very well known place in Gilgit Baltistan where they speak almost like 5 to 7 languages. But for us, it's different because being in Gilgit, we speak Brushiski, that is my mother tongue, and our official language in Gilgit Baltistan is Shina. So that is a language you speak and understand a little bit. But other than that, all the languages are super, super different. And you cannot understand, you cannot speak until you learn to.
Okay.
And we have the most prominent ones are Bushiski, Shina, Wakhi, Kwar, Balti. So these are totally different languages.
Okay. Having lived in a city in Islamabad mein right now, so people, like for someone who's actually been raised in city as well, we perceive, at least people perceive, or the tourists, they perceive North in a very different light. For instance, like I'm personally from Kashmir, but anyone that I know here, they place all the entire chunk of North in one category. They believe that everyone is just wearing the same kind of clothes. They're probably just wearing this fancy clothes. Probably cooking the same sort of things. Maybe a little bit of difference in the languages. So how do you feel कि यहाँ पे जो लोग हैं या कोई भी जो tourist जाता है गिलगित में, how do they perceive the culture? And do you think that there is an aspect of superiority complex?
I don't know about the superiority complex. I won't term it that because when I came to city, I was pretty much like it was unheard of girls coming out of Gilgit Baltistan at that time. So I came to Islamabad in 2006 for my FSc, and then I moved to Lahore for my bachelor's. So at that time, I mean, even for me, coming out of Gilgit Baltistan was a huge thing, and there was hardly any community in cities where I could connect with other females, especially from Gilgit Baltistan. So this actually created a huge gap, which I had seen when I was in university. And I used to get a lot of questions about how do you even know how to speak Urdu and English? And that was like because I learned in school. Why wouldn't I? It was also eye-opening for me as well. It was like both sides, not one-sided. But it was pretty crazy to even hear these questions. And I would be like, I didn't realize that how this gap was created. But moving like after a few years, I got to learn a lot of things on my own as well, why this is happening. So this was one of the huge misconception. And the second one was, you are a girl from Gilgit Baltistan. How did your parents let you come to city and study in a university? And the third one was, you don't do parda. And all these questions made me, wonder what are the things they are missing. And the biggest one was the representation of Gilgit Baltistan in the mainstream media, because we were nowhere. Nowhere in a sense that not in print media, not in mainstream media, be it the news or whichever the platform was at that time. Facebook was pretty common at that time, but not that common for the people in Gilgit Baltistan, so they can basically share information about their place, right? So there was a huge gap, which is now I see that social media has changed that for people of Gilgit Baltistan and people of rest of the Pakistan as well. And there had been a lot of misconceptions which are changing, but still there is a lot of gaps when it comes to traveling. That is very particular, where people still need to have a lot of education. And education, when I say education, that does not mean any written material or anything, but the life skills to be somewhere, when we go somewhere and learn how they live, how they speak, and basically how to do the basic interaction with people you are meeting in that place.
Okay, speaking of that, the gap of education. Exactly. When we do not have the education, we're obviously unaware. And that's where the stereotypes, I believe, come from, because then you're making stuff up and you start believing then, and that it gets passed on from generation to generation. Now, every time we all know that the tourism industry is booming, mashallah, mashallah, in Gilgit Baltistan. Everyone, at least, even if people are not aware of the culture as much, they're at least aware of the places because of the landscapes and everything. But of course, whenever you're going there, आप सिर्फ पहाड़ देखने नहीं जा रहे हैं, आप वहाँ पे लोगों के दरमियान में जा रहे हैं, लोगों की चीज़ें देखने के लिए जा रहे हैं. And that is where our research comes in. We came across two terms. One was ethno-relativity and the other was ethnocentric hona. There are some tourists who are very ethnocentric. They believe whatever their culture is, it's superior. So, hypothetically, I'm an ethnocentric tourist. I'm going to go there and be like, well, I do this in my home. And even if people do not like this, I don't care because, well, it's approved by my culture. Then comes the ethno-relativity, which is sort of on the other end of the spectrum. They're a little more extreme. They believe कि जो उधर के लोग बिलीव कर रहे हैं ना, वो बहुत बेहतरीन, ठीक है, that is everything. Problem, that is also a very good practice, obviously, जैसा देश वैसा भेस कहा जाता है, ठीक है, but obviously they are compromising on their own values, which is something that you should not be doing, especially if I am spending my resources, my energy, my time, my money going there, and someone is like, oh, you can't do this here, so I'd be offended. However, over the time, with our research, we found out that हर दफ़ा कोई जब टूरिस्ट उधर जाता है, you leave a mark. Of course, it could be a good mark, it could be a bad mark. Of course, because it's inevitable. आप जब किसी के साथ टाइम गुजारते हैं, एक इन्फ्लुएंस रहता है. कोई बाहर से आएगा, कोई यहाँ पे होगा, it does not matter. However, not all the cultural practices of tourists are healthy. And a lot of them are harming the culture. A lot of the things are changing. For instance, and it's probably not because of the tourists, but शादियाँ जो होती थीं, पहले हम लोगों ने काफ़ी लोगों से बात की, and they were like कि शादियाँ बहुत सिंपल होती थी गिलगित बल्तिस्तान में. And now you cannot tell the difference apart from Islamabad की शादी and Gilgit Baltistan की शादी, because they're putting their culture in the back seat and they're focusing on more what's popular, कि क्या चीज़ ज़्यादा की जा रही है. So where do you think, like, how do we find that middle ground as a tourist कि हम जब जाएं वहाँ पे, we're not harming them, but it doesn't come at the expense of anyone's, comfort. So what do you think about that?
There are multiple layers to this discussion, to be honest, because personally I believe in having a balance in between, because you cannot go to any extreme whatsoever. If you want to have a harmonized experience, then you have to give up something and take up something. So it's like give and receive, right? So it is always about your comfort and also about what you want to leave as a mark. Is it positive or negative? So to start with, it comes at a personal responsibility. It starts there. With your upbringing, of course, be it at your homes or in your schools or where you work or where you live. Everything counts to it, basically, whatever your behavior is. And when it comes to changing culture, it's not just the tourist, but also the people of Gilgit Baltistan, because you cannot contain a change, right? Except for if you know your values, then you know what to pick and choose and what to let go, right? So there used to be simple weddings, yes. लेकिन अब बहुत सारी चीज़ें उसमें चेंज आ रहा है. So it's also like personal choice of the people as well. They don't have to, nobody is forcing it on them, right? So अगर आपने simple शादी करनी है, you still have a choice to do that. अगर आप उसमें कुछ spice up करना चाहते हो, that still is your choice. If you can afford that, do it, but not the expense of anybody else's comfort, right? So that is the line between what's good for you and what's good for others. And cultural change is going to happen. उसमें किसी का वो नहीं है कि यार मैं ये करने से रोक दूंगा, वो करने से रोक दूंगा. It is going to happen. But you have to look into yourself that what are your values? आपकी values क्या हैं? Does this make sense to do or not? And especially cultural differences जो हैं, that is more personal, I would say. It comes from personal choices. So अगर वो मीडिया का एक्सपोजर आपको है, if you see something and you want to adapt that, आप कर सकते हो. You have the choice, right? आप उसमें उनको रिस्ट्रिक्ट नहीं कर सकते कि नहीं नहीं you cannot celebrate your wedding this way or that way or whatever. ठीक है, अगर वो अफोर्ड कर सकते हैं, उन्होंने लोन लिया है, जो भी है ठीक है. Culturally, if you feel like it doesn't apply to you, don't do it, simply. And other than that, cultural में बहुत सारी चीज़ें आती हैं. That is language, and also food, and also environment, and how you behave around the people there. And that is one of the biggest challenge. Okay, once you are in their area, how do you interact with them? That needs to be looked into, because क्या होता है कि, but again, we don't have a lot of concrete and proper information somewhere where basically tourists can get education as well before going to a place. यहाँ पे जब global कोई tourist आ रहा है, तो उसके लिए कहीं पे कोई compiled centralized information नहीं है to take care of कि यार they can go there and see कि अच्छा वहाँ पे culture क्या है, language क्या है, क्या नहीं है, what you need to take care of, ठीक है, before going there. You don't have proper information anywhere. So the other education which I more focus on is your personal interaction with different people. It brings out a lot of education which we don't realize. I mean, travel की जब भी बात होती है, the most significant thing is interacting at a human level. You don't have to go through books, to be honest. If you want to learn about some place or people, you can always like open up to the people and ask as many questions as you can for a better understanding, not to offend anybody, right? To get the right information from them before going there, you can always reach out. So there are many ways to go through these. But again, it's at the end of the day, it's a personal choice. But there are a few things where, as a community, we can take care of some things, which is one of the biggest issue we faced in last few years was littering. Gilgit Baltistan everywhere. And as a community, a lot of things were taken care of at a voluntary basis. So then, of course, they have to have their own resources to sustain it, right? But that's not happening because we have a lot of institutions which basically lack a lot of infrastructure and facilities and policies which are not in place. So there is a limitation to people and their volunteer-based work. And there comes the institutions where they need to jump in and step up their game as well. So, yeah.
How big of a role do you think a tour guide can play in making sure that the tourists are culturally aware of the sensitivity that they need to, showcase when they're visiting a place?
It's huge because I'm also connected with a lot of tour companies who are basically started implementing this, uh, you can say, practice with their groups, whoever they are bringing in. They are trying to create a system where they can provide early information, where they can let the tourists know that this is what's going to happen and you have to take care of these things. And but again, it needs to come from our government institutions to make sure that everybody is following this policy. So it is going to speed up the implementation process and also to see the impacts very quickly. Individual basis pay, I have seen a lot of them already implementing these things, and also they did a lot of training sessions with them as well in Hunza last year, where they trained them on the basic ethics and how to basically communicate with the tourist and what kind of information you can provide and things like that. But again, it's not going to happen in isolation or at like independent. एक बंदे का काम नहीं है. It has to like work simultaneously in the institutions, people, and tour operators, or depends on the tourists as well. So I guess this is a multi-level discussion. It's not just one person's responsibility.
Okay, what are the general practices that you think anyone, जिसको tour guide भी नहीं मिला, or anything that's very simple, small things that people can just take care of? And if anyone who's watching this, उनको, they can realize कि, oh, maybe I can take care of this वहाँ पे जाके. What are the small gestures that they can take care of, do you think, that could be good and not, you know, अगर ना करे तो वो harmful हो सकते हैं?
Starting with single-use plastic, ठीक है. You can always carry your water bottles with you, or starting from there, and then plastic का जो usage है, cut off completely easily in a lot of ways. And then बहुत सारे लोग snacks के लिए पता नहीं Lays और biscuit और पता नहीं क्या क्या लेते हैं. You can always choose fruits. ठीक है, fruits is one of the best thing you can have as a snack, ठीक है, during travel, or it is easily available everywhere literally. और आपकी सेहत के लिए भी अच्छा है और माहौल के लिए भी अच्छा है literally. And other than that, once you are in the place, be courteous always. I mean, the biggest thing we have seen in last few years was and a lot of people built businesses on that as well, was photography and videography, right?
Yeah.
And it is a very different concept here. But in Gilgit Baltistan, they would like if you come to them and take permission.
Yes.
It's like all you have to do is just come to them and then ask, right? They are not going to say no, but it will give them a sense of like respect in that way, that they have basically asked you for your consent and your permission.
I mean, even in Islamabad, if someone was taking a picture of me for any purpose, like street photography,
you won't
I'd
be comfortable, yeah?
Exactly.
So that's everywhere. So that these are the few things which they can take care of. And also there's a lot of misconception around free access to fruits and homes.
Yes.
Because we don't have char diwari system a lot. So people think it is okay to get into people's homes and do whatever, right? और इस तरह के incidents हुए हैं जहाँ पे they went in and they destroyed the fruit trees. And what they don't know is a lot of people have these fruits and vegetables for their livelihood. So you are basically destroying their livelihoods and also their food. So it's just it doesn't make sense. Why would somebody, I mean, यहाँ पे अगर कोई ऐसे उठ के किसी के घर में चला जाए तो I would definitely say कि गोली आएगी. So you cannot expect that just because the people are good to you, that does not give you a right to होता है ना कि उंगली पकड़ा रहे हैं तो आप बाजू पकड़ के do whatever. So these are the little things you can take care of, and the people are brilliant, lovely. super kind, and make sure that you don't exploit that.
Okay. And most of all, I personally believe that before going there, people really need to educate themselves of the culture, of the languages, of everything that they're going to be attending. For instance, अगर आप किसी भी एक इलाके में जा रहे हैं, कोई festival होने वाला है, just learn about it. You don't need to start speaking their language, but you should at least
Exactly.
have some sense of the history that is there, because that then creates a connection that, of course, then breeds respect.
And also it creates bonds
Of course, exactly.
and learning and experience at a very different level.
Okay, anything else you want to add at the end?
At the end of the day, we are people of Pakistan, and especially Gilgit Baltistan. We are super kind and always welcoming. You are always welcome to our land, but come with more kindness to our land, to our mountains, and to our people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And this brings us to the end of our podcast. And प्लीज़ ख्याल रखें जब भी आप गिलगित बल्तिस्तान जाएं तो उधर ऐसे ही विज़िट करें जैसे आप अपने घर में होंगे, ठीक है. उधर के लोगों का भी ख्याल रखें, इज़्ज़त करें, ताकि आपका भी बहुत अच्छा सफ़र गुजरे, आपका भी बहुत अच्छा टाइम गुजरे और वो लोग भी आपसे खुश रहें. थैंक यू.